Last summer, James Ward was thrust into the national spotlight overnight, all because of a zero-victim message he shared at a press conference. So where did he get the genesis of that message? From something he learned in the 3rd grade.
During the summer of 2020, pastor and author James E. Ward Jr. came to national prominence after the police shooting of Jacob Blake Jr. in Kenosha, Wisconsin, when he was asked to lead the family press conference on live television. He shared a message birthed in his heart in the 3rd grade, which addressed the spiritual and moral law crisis in America. In his updated book, Zero Victim, James shares biblical principles on how to heal and reconcile our country by eliminating negative thinking and developing a new attitude in Christ.
Please welcome to the 700 Club a graduate of Regent University School of Divinity, James E. Ward. It's nice to have you with us today.
Hi, Terry. It's great to be with you, and thank you so much for having me. Thanks for the great work you and Pat, the team, are doing there.
Well, thanks, James. Well, take us back, if you will, to the 3rd grade. What happened then that set you up for a zero-victim mentality?
Sure. Growing up in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, at the tail end of segregation, being bused to the white side of town, it was a pivotal moment for me, a life-changing moment where I discovered, with the help of my 3rd grade teacher, that I was as smart as any of the white kids that were around me. She put our names up on the board, and I discovered that I was doing well, and something clicked. It was the grace of God. Something clicked in my mind, and I recognized that I was not inferior. And since that time, I didn't believe in white supremacy because I don't believe in black inferiority. It was then that the seed was planted that I was not a victim, and certainly with God's help, that the people around me could not hold me back, that even if I was in a hostile situation, that could not limit me from the great things that God had called me to do in life. That set the trajectory for the remainder of my life until this very day.
It's such a freeing message. You were asked to speak at Jacob Blake's family press conference after that Kenosha shooting in 2020. How did that change your life?
It changed our life in the sense that it really just provided a different platform. It was a crisis. We certainly wish that had never happened. But God has a way, of turning things that were meant for evil into good. And it became just a greater platform for a message that we'd already been preaching, something I've been teaching in my church. And of course, Julia Jackson, the mother of Jacob Blake, is a member of our church and has been part of that message. And so it really helped us to deliver this message to the nation at a time that it was really, really needed in terms of how to push the reset button on race relations, the socio-political tension. We need to overcome this injustice and the challenges that we're facing. America needs a new attitude, and I believe that this book is the solution to help us understand how to put on that new attitude to face off with the challenges that we're dealing with in life right now.
Well, one of the issues is just labeling each other. You consider yourself a Black American as opposed to an African American. Talk about that.
I say that because I've traveled to Africa on numerous occasions, and there are more than 51 different countries in America and Africa, whether it's Nigeria or Kenya or South Africa. And being an American is who I am. Black American, it describes who I am. African American is kind of a broad term that I think even contributes to identity crisis. And so being a Black American, this is my home, this is my nation, this is my country. And it's another way to free me to engage and to honor this nation, to place a value on this nation, and to continue to see God's purposes for America fulfilled.
James, how can a change in attitude help to overcome injustice in our country?
One of the things that we need to recognize, Terry, is when we talk about a change of attitude, modeling the life of Jesus. Zero victim mindset was the mindset of Jesus himself. Think about it, the only innocent man that ever lived, who walked on the face of this planet. He suffered the greatest injustice that the world has ever known. And while in the process of being victimized and the nails are still being driven in his hand, he's already praying, Father, forgive them. Every other injustice is a lesser injustice. And so when we return to one nation under God, when we continue to stick to the fundamentals of faith, the legacy of faith that we have, then having a new attitude gives us a different perspective about dealing with the things that we're facing with society. We need to put on a new set of lenses so that we read freedom into our circumstances instead of putting on victim lenses to read victim mentality and victim thinking into our circumstances. America needs a change of heart and a change of attitude, and that has to begin with spiritual and moral law. It's not going to come from constitutional or civil law.
So share with us a few key steps people can take to overcome a victim mentality.
Sure. The first big idea is to always act and never react. And then I give some practical tips in the book. I write about this. Number one, you need to know yourself. You need to know your tendencies. You need to know what wounds, what moral injuries, what kind of victimizations have happened in your life that are liabilities to you. Number two, you need to know your environment. You need to be able to identify pitfalls of victimizations, whether those are in your family, in your relationships, in the workplace, sociopolitically. Number three, you need a coach. I want to be America's zero victim coach, America's zero victim pastor, which is why I wrote this book. Someone who understands zero victim to encourage us, to help us come out of victim thinking whenever those things are problems in our life. Number four, we need to always precondition our mind the same way that a catcher in a baseball game, he anticipates a pitch coming toward him. It can be deadly if he's unprepared, but when he's prepared, he anticipates that pitch coming because he's preconditioned his mind. That's how we deal with offense and victimization. And lastly, we just need to envision our victory. Always see your way out, see the end out of the problems and the challenges that we're facing so that we don't continue to exist under them, to have our lives defined by those things. And so there's so many practical tips. I really hope your viewers can read the book. It's a great companion guide to the scriptures and to our faith as God's people. And to those who are even not people of faith, I think it's a practical guide to help everyone overcome the challenges in life with a new attitude.
I thought that as I read it, James. It is a book for everyone. The book is called Zero Victim. It's available wherever books are sold. It's a great message in the day that we live in. Thanks, James, for being with us today.
My pleasure, Terry. Thanks for having me. All the best.